topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good afternoon, America. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show where we bring you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. If you were listening to yesterday's live show, see, we do live shows. We don't do any of these replays at all. But when you do a live show, you always are under the arm of the internet, and it just wasn't happening for us yesterday. But we've got a great live show. Again, the same show, Taxation Solutions Incorporated, and Barry Fowler, the president and founder of Taxation Solutions, is with us today. He's an enrolled agent licensed to represent taxpayers before the Internal Revenue Service, that IRS. His experience in the tax and finance industry spans over 30 years. Fowler's expertise includes tax resolution, tax planning, tax return preparation, and he's been instrumental in helping not hundreds, but thousands of people resolve their complex issues. And Barry has been with us for 14 years. I am always so excited to have him on the show because it's so important to us knowing that the information you get is accurate, it's correct, it's informational, and that's what Barry always provides. Good afternoon, Barry.
Hey, Steve-O, it's actually good to be here and actually be able to talk without having everything breaking up every other word, right?
You know, listen, I watch a little bit of Fox, Barry, and they do a lot of live remotes, and they freeze up all the time, and they're a national show. Your show's national, but we don't have near the equipment Fox has.
No. And hey, we were out moving some cattle and trying to get back to the ranch, and the show was important. So I was kind of kicking myself the whole time driving down that road going, why are we losing connection? And, but I mean, this is how important stuff is, even around, Christmas time and, the time of the year it is, that you've got to do everything you can to keep the IRS off your back and, not be having to look over your shoulder. And you don't want to be doing that, this time of the year. You really don't want to be doing it any time of the year. But, they could really ruin your Christmas right now or ruin the start of the new year even. And it's time to get in front of those problems and put it behind you and get the IRS monkey off your back.
Hey, Barry, you know what? Christmas is next week and New Year's. I think people who are having problems with the IRS and they're struggling and they're worried and sleepless nights, I think they should make a resolution to contact Taxation Solutions and get, like you say, get that monkey off their back.
You've got to do something. And whether it's with us, with somebody else, or even doing it yourself, you've got to put a plan in place to stop the IRS and stop the collections and be able to move on with your life and be able to, at least get some sleep at night. We know how it is. It's the IRS is basically going to be running your life until you put a solution in place to solve the problem that you're dealing with. And, we have great things and we've been working on a lot of new things this towards the end of the year. And the thing that we came up with is decided to take all the experience that I have and put together this wonderful thing called the IRS playbook. Get the IRS off your back for good in as little as 3 simple steps.
That's it? 3?
3 simple steps. And I mean, it becomes a little more complicated than that, but this is where it starts. And all you got to do, and hey, whether you're going to use us, use somebody else, or try to do it yourself, go to www.irsplaybook.info. Again, it's irsplaybook.info. Hey, this is the information you need to start solving your IRS problems. I mean, the IRS is relentless. Intrusive calls during dinner time at work, terrifying notices in the mail, threatening messages. All this is unsettling, not just to you, but your family, your wife, your kids. It affects every facet of your life. And it's time to stop them in their tracks and put that playbook to good use for you to stop the IRS.
Barry, you keep saying about, or you can do it yourself, but God darn, Barry, you've had those people who tried to do it themselves, and they really end up hurting themselves.
Well, Steve, it's kind of like this. My wife can't tell me at times to not do things myself. She tries. Hey, don't mess with that electricity. And when it throws you off the ladder 60 feet away, hey, maybe that's not what I wanted to do. Sometimes it's plumbing. Sometimes it's carpentry. And hey, I do taxes. I do a little bit of ranching. I build a few chicken coops. Some of them are straight, some are not. But when it gets into something that's really, really difficult, something that's going to affect your family day in and day out, sometimes you don't want to mess with that yourself, because when my wife has to call the electrician out to fix something that I started doing and screwed up, it costs her twice as much. See, that's her money, because I would never have called, right? So it costs her twice as much. But it's the same thing in dealing with the IRS. Sometimes it costs you twice as much, and it's not necessarily costing you twice as much in the service, but sometimes it costs you twice as much with the solution you put in place. It's twice as bad. Or sometimes they just took everything you had in the bank because you didn't know how to stop the IRS, or you gave the IRS the roadmap to everything you have, and now they just took it all. And hey, what is today? It's the last weekend before Christmas. Now, any emergency presents you needed to get, food you needed to get, you don't have the money for. God forbid that happens to you, but that does happen out there. And moving into the new year, same thing. You don't want to be worried about whether the IRS just took all the money out of your bank account to pay your mortgage, pay your bills, pay your credit cards, you name it. It's gone. It isn't going to be there for you. So you got to do something to get in front of it. So whether it's do it yourself, whether it's hire somebody like us, or us, because we are the best. And, you've got to do something. You got to jump in front of the problem.
Let's talk about the playbook. What gave you the idea? And is this both for individual and business, Barry?
It's both individual and business. The idea of the playbook was, we had a lot of people these days that, can't afford services. And they really want to get out there and do it themselves. So we wanted to give them an idea. Hey, this is how you can start going about solving the problem. And whether you use us, use somebody else, you need to be able to start figuring out what are the steps going to take, and what do we do too. And so we put the years of experience on it. They're actually now going to work with us to actually write a whole book on tax negotiation. And sometime later next year, we'll have it out. Don't wait for that book. Please do something now to start working on your IRS problem. But at some point late next year, we'll probably have a book out on tax negotiation and how to negotiate your taxes and everything as well. So it's going to be, something that we need to get out there for people, because this is what we're trying to do, is help people. And, you and I have talked before about one of your friends that called me, and we get this, quite a bit. At times we'll tell people, hey, you know what? It's easier for you to do this, this, and this yourself than it is for us to jump in and do it and charge you the fees. Our fees won't be worth what your debt is and what you need to do. But this will help those people as well figure out how to solve their problem and get in front of it. It's decades of knowledge.
Barry, I want to start off with business today because people are asking about how do you represent businesses? What's so great about your company, Barry, is maybe one thing won't work, but there's something else that will. You've got so many things in your magic bag.
Hey, how did you know I play Santa at family time?
You actually do, Barry.
Yeah, I do. We used to go to the malls and everybody would sit on Santa's lap, and we can't get Santa to come to the house, because he's kind of busy on Christmas Eve. So they had me, dress up so we can get some pictures with Santa. So, hey, we get to do that. And then real Santa comes, and God forbid if I'm still looking like him, because man, I'd be in trouble. But yeah, in that magic bag, I mean, we pull all the stops for businesses and individuals. Most business problems are payroll related. And so when you have payroll problems, it becomes not just a problem for the business, but it also becomes possibly a personal problem because of the trust fund penalties. And the trust fund is the part that you withhold from your employees' checks that you're supposed to entrust, pay that to the federal government as you're pulling that out. If you don't do that, then everybody that signs on the account has responsibility for paying bills would be lumped into getting those trust fund penalties. And then, you pay it both personally and business until that trust fund part is paid back. So those become really critical. The other thing we've seen recently is, we talk about people wanting to do things themselves. And people get out there and decide they're going to go into business, so they set up their business themselves. But they don't really pay attention to what they're doing or how they're doing it. And so we have a business that came to us, and he set up a Inc. business. So John Doe Inc., John Doe Plumbing Inc., whatever it was, and filed for his employer identification number. And the IRS sent him a nice letter back saying, here's your employer identification number, and you need to file an 1120, and you need to file 941s. Well, he's thinking, hey, I'm just a small business. I just file on Schedule C. Don't file any payroll tax returns. Nothing. The CPA they were going to never bothered to ask him for the employer identification letters. Never bothered to ask him how it was set up. He just took their word for it that he was a Schedule C, filed everything on Schedule C, some of them with the correct name, some with the incorrect name, and he was running like 4 or 5 businesses. And we said, hey, we've got to go through and you've got to fix all these things. So for the last 3 years, he didn't file a single 941 or 940 payroll tax returns.
Oh, no.
Didn't file his 1120s for any of those years, and filed everything on Schedule C. So what does he got to do? Well, we've actually got to work with the IRS to eliminate the 940 and 941 required filings because he had no employees. So we've managed to be able to get that off their back. Now we got to go back and file 1120s and amend his personal returns. And the problem he has is the 1120s pay the tax on any net income from the business. And it takes the losses and carries them forward because the 1120 is its own reporting entity, and it pays its tax or carry forwards the losses there. So on his personal return, where he was using the losses to offset a good amount of income, he now has a lot of tax. And he has no write-offs to go against it. So, he's created a lot of problems. So we're seeing a lot of that happening. And it's happened because you're doing it yourself, and then you don't have a good tax preparer that is working with you that knows how to ask the right questions, especially when you've established your own business.
Yeah, I could see that, especially with a small business, that people don't know. They try to think they're saving money. They're going to try to do it themselves. But you know all the tax laws, and most common people do not know the tax laws.
Well, most common people don't, but then there's a lot of CPAs out there that will not ask the questions of their clients. They just take their word for their clients. And even that client was challenging me. Why do you need these things? And so once he produced the first letter, I went and showed him the letter, and I said, look, right here on this letter, it said, here's how you have to file, and here's what you got to file, effective what dates. And he went, oh, well, why didn't anybody else ask me that?
Right.
I can't answer for anybody else. All I can answer is that when we do things, we ask a lot of questions and we challenge a lot of people, and we're trying to find as much information as possible because we don't want to be blindsided, by the IRS or by filing something incorrect or, not filing something that is required. And so, we're going to work really hard with you as our client to make sure we dot all the I's and cross all the T's and we have things that are correct. And not only when we do that, it gets you things done right, but it'll also get you the right offer in place, the right installment agreement, right partial pay installment agreement, or even non-collectible status. And it has to mesh within the laws the IRS has. And then we also look at things like what are the statute of limitations. So maybe the debt goes away over a period of time, and we don't want to interfere with that either. So we have to work with every single facet of the laws that the IRS has out there to make things work and make it work seamless and perfect, for you, our client.
Barry, Jack in Boulder, Colorado wants to know, do you go with your clients on audits?
Hey, the funny thing is, Jack, and I appreciate the question, is we step into your shoes and represent you, and you will never step foot in the IRS at an audit.
Wow.
That's right. Hey, I'll tell you this, and there's multiple reasons why. One, you sign that power of attorney, and basically we've stepped into your shoes. Two, we really don't want you there answering questions. We'll answer the questions based on the knowledge we're going to get from talking to you about your business. And those questions we can't answer, or maybe we don't want to answer quite right then, because it could be detrimental to you. We can defer and say, oh, we need to get back with our client. So we don't want you to be in that meeting. We're not going to invite you to the meeting. We're going to tell you to stay away from that meeting. And we're going to do everything we can in representing you to get you the best outcome.
God, what a relief that is, Barry.
Hey, I'll tell you, it's a relief to both of us when I tell you you're not coming to this meeting.
Yeah, right. Barry, I got to tell you, I saw a thing the other night, one of these housewife shows where the guy opened a bar and he was taking the payroll taxes that he was deducting from his workers, but never paying it. He's in a lot of trouble, isn't he?
Oh, he's in big trouble. It's keeping money that's that trust fund, but it's also the matching money that the company pays, and it's quite a bit. And a lot of times this happens because businesses need money. Inflation has affected everybody. I mean, it has been terrible for mom and pop shops to medium-sized business to even large businesses, and sometimes you're buying product or you're buying stuff, or in this case, he was buying stuff to rebuild or remodel houses and everything. And sometimes the cash flow isn't there. And the easiest thing not to do is pay the payroll taxes. And it's the worst thing you can do, but it sometimes is the easiest thing to do. And now you've got to deal with that problem. We were dealing with a a daycare. Now, in this case, the daycare is making money hand over fist, but they were actually working with a payroll service provider that didn't send the money in to the IRS. And so they ended up owing hundreds of thousands of dollars. Well, the payroll company actually took some of the money because it was going to their accounts and then not going out. And so, they've got other criminal proceedings going on over on that side. But the owners of the daycare actually had to come in and pay all these payroll taxes back. Now, the nice part is we were able to avoid the trust fund penalty just because they had enough cash flow coming in that we got them to pay the trust fund portion of the taxes back as quick as possible. And so while I delayed with the revenue officer who was trying to issue the trust fund penalties against them, I got them to be able to enough time to go in and pay off the trust fund portion of the taxes before he could levy the trust fund penalties. And so it worked out really, really nice. And this guy's like, no, I've got to issue these anyway. And as I explained to him, by the time you issue these trust fund things, these penalties, these trust funds will be 100% paid. And to make sure that we deferred this long enough down the road to get this paid for our clients and be able to not have all this on them personally, I managed to take it to the manager and to appeals, and then they had it all paid off when we were in appeals. And the appeal officer went, "Why are we even talking about this?" Because I needed time to get them to pay this. It worked. So, those are the kind of things that we try to do to help our client and keep them out of hot water. Not just on the business side, but we've also got to work on the personal side, because the last thing they needed was any more problems on the personal side.
Hey, Barry, you never know who's listening or watching the show. We just got a text from Victor in Dickinson.
Hey, Victor.
That's in your part of the woods.
It sure is.
Wants to know, what problems do you see small businesses mostly making when it comes to their taxes? And do you see any changes with the new administration with the tax laws for next year?
Well, let's start with the mistakes first. And so the mistakes is not planning. Planning for taxes is actually the best key to defense and saving money on taxes. So if you're not working with an enrolled agent or a CPA or a good tax person, one, give us a call. Two, sit down and work with somebody to plan what your next year is going to look like and figure out how to save money on taxes. Because, we talk about this all the time. Doing strategies that save you money on taxes is not illegal. Matter of fact, Judge William Rehnquist, he was a Supreme Court justice. He basically is the one that said, you have a right to this. This is what the Internal Revenue Code is for. Now, I'm just kind of paraphrasing. I have his exact quote that I usually say all the time. But that's what the code is there for, is to save you as much money as possible. I mean, do you really think Warren Buffett pays less in tax than you and I do? Well, when he does, it's because he's invested in real estate and has losses, and it offsets his gains, or he's got other tax strategies out there that help him save money. Do you think he came up with these strategies himself? No, he's got a team of, tax attorneys, lawyers, enrolled agents, CPAs that are actually work for him to figure out how to save money. Do you think any actor that's talking about, hey, everybody else should pay more in taxes, is because they want to pay more in taxes? Heck no. They have people working for them that help them avoid taxes every way possible through the legal system. And that's what you need to do in your planning for your business. Now, what's coming up? Hey, the good news is most likely And we say most likely because you just never know what Congress is
I
going to
know.
do. I mean, look at this week.
Look what's going on now.
They were trying to throw huge raises in for themselves. I mean, who's the last
Yes.
time a huge raise? Okay, come on, let's get real here. These Congress people should be working for us and not for themselves, and that's all it seems to be is they work for themselves. But we should get an extension of the Trump tax laws, which is great because the standard deduction is really high. You don't have to always go through and do the itemization, the child tax credits, and all the other stuff that was thrown in there that really helped the average American would stay there. Now we're seeing some things that Trump promised in his, coming up for election and everything else, like maybe Social Security might become non-taxable. Maybe tips will become non-taxable. I don't see how they're going to do some of this stuff because of the impact to Social Security for those tipped employees, because tips have got to be included to have them, pay more in for Social Security. So if you're a tipped employee, it may affect what you get from Social Security later on because you have to pay tax on it. Child tax credits, we'll see, probably will increase. And then we'll kind of go from there and see what they have planned. I think one of the best things that Trump can do, and it looks like they're trying to figure out a way to work on it, is reducing what our federal government spends to maybe cut down on some of the deficit spending. It would really be nice to see them go back to a balanced budget, and actually have a budget, not a continuing resolution. And as a matter of fact, one of the two things you could do in Congress right now is say congressmen don't get paid unless they have a balanced budget and an actual budget in place like they're supposed to per the Constitution.
I love that.
And the second one is congressmen and every federal government employee shouldn't be any better than you and I, and they should be on Social Security, Medicare, and the same doggone Obamacare plans that are out there in the marketplace. Now, if we can accomplish that, I'll tell you
Jerry,
what.
did you see where they tried to get rid of Obamacare for themselves? They told us it was so good, and here they were trying to get rid of it to get a better medical health policy.
They're not really. See, well, you don't understand. They're not really in Obamacare. They have their own plan anyway, and they were just trying to expand the benefits of their plan well above what they already get that's above Obamacare. So, hey, if you want to fix the system, we do that, including congressmen. And I tell you what, Social Security be fixed tomorrow. Obamacare and medical would be fixed tomorrow. And we would not have lifetime appointments in Congress where these guys just stay there continuously. Go ahead and put the same term limits we have for president, 2 terms, done and gone. Okay, my soapbox. Man, we should have a soapbox right before Christmas, should we?
Hey, listen, somebody just wrote us, Barry, because we're scrolling it across on the screen, your new website for the IRS, the playbook. But we have so many people listening on radio and iHeart. Tell people what that site is again.
All right, so go to www.irsplaybook.info. www.irsplaybook.info. Hey, it's information. That's what it's out there. And, we put this out on this site, not on .coms or any .nets or anything else. This is information that you need to have when you owe the IRS money. Stop them now. I mean, again, the IRS is relentless. You got to know with this simple 3-step IRS playbook, you can quickly and easily know with confidence that you're matched to the best repayment or forgiveness plan that's possible for your situation. You can stop possible IRS audits or adverse collections, and you can save yourself stress and money by utilizing this. I mean, this is what it's there for. Again, that's www.irsplaybook.info. Hey, go in there, check it out. We want you to use it. Whether you use us or use somebody else or try to do it yourself, get out there and jump in and see that playbook. That's information you need for yourself.
It's got a text from George in Oklahoma City. Really enjoying the show. Are you going to be talking about individual, which we're getting ready to do right now? But you've mentioned that you are a enrolled agent. I'm sorry, I don't understand. What is an enrolled agent?
When I got
Sounds scary.
When I got the designation enrolled agent, the first thing my father said to me was, "Are you working for the IRS?" And I went, "Oh, heck no. I work against the IRS."
Yes.
So what this is this is a designation, and it's certification by the U.S. Department of Treasury, and they license us to represent taxpayers to the highest levels of the IRS. We had to be tested of our knowledge of the taxes and the tax code. We then went through FBI background check. I went, why? But okay, no problem. And then they issued the license, and then we continue to have continuing education that we renew our license every 3 years, but we've got to have a minimum number of continuing education hours every single year. But this allows us to represent you, step into the taxpayer's shoes, and basically take over for you to be able to answer the questions, and you never have to talk or deal with the IRS yourself. We're doing that for you when you become a client of ours. So, basically we know more about taxes than CPAs do because this is what we specialize in. We know more about representation than they do. I also have carried an CPA license. I just don't renew my license because the EA license was more important to me to represent you to the highest levels of the IRS. I mean, the only place we don't go is tax court. That's it. I've represented or helped people in tax court, but I don't represent them. I'm not a lawyer, never wanted to be a lawyer, and don't charge legal fees. And I've got that disclaimer down really well as well.
Well, we got a question that always comes up. Can you explain offer and compromise to me?
Offer and compromise is the best sales tool you ever hear on the radio for most companies. We're going to sell you for less or pennies on the dollar. Not everybody qualifies. If you've got the wherewithal to pay, the IRS is going to make you pay. I mean, whether it's equity in your home, 401ks, IRAs, money in the bank, a high paying job, you got the ability to pay, you're going to pay unless you qualify under one of the other offer programs. So the IRS does doubt to liability, meaning you don't really owe it, but it's the only way to settle that. We've done that for somebody in an offer and compromise who got stuck with trust fund penalties. They were an employee of company, and we went to doubt to liability because they didn't meet all the qualifications to be assessed it. They just happened to be one of the pawns. And so we get doubt to liability, and we got that removed. You may be in a business and maybe you had extenuating circumstances, and we needed to go to effective tax administration and say, hey, here's the reasons, and we can get rid of this liability that way. There's got to be really good reasons, and you've got to meet the stringent requirements. Most people go because of doubt to collectability, meaning the IRS is not able to collect any money from you because you are flat broke and can't afford to pay it. We've seen the program, and the program is very extensive. Not everybody qualifies, and the IRS is going to look at everything. And just because you make money and you have high house payment and other bills, multiple cars, and there's two of you, husband and wife, and you got kids, and you have three kids, and each of the kids have cars, two of those cars qualify. That's it. The other three, the expense of those cars don't qualify. College education, private tuition, things like that don't qualify as an expense in an offer in compromise. And so just because you may feel like you're flat broke doesn't mean in the IRS's eyes you are flat broke. So we've got to use some of their other programs to get you to qualify for it. But one of the things we do, if you call us for that free consultation and talk to us at Taxation Solutions, we are going to be able to tell you, hey, you can qualify, you don't qualify. Here's where we think you may go. Now, we may rearrange some things in your finances to get you to qualify for an offer in compromise, or maybe get you to that partial pay installment agreement. Or maybe when we go in and we could do a transcript analysis, we look at the statute of limitations, and the statute of limitations are going to run out sooner. And you don't really need to be in an offer in compromise. We just need to get you in a partial pay installment agreement or a low pay installment agreement and let the statutes run out. We've done that numerous times, and sometimes that's better. One of the biggest problems with an offer in compromise, it comes with compliance. And you may not be one of those people that can actually stay in compliance. And so what does that mean? Well, when you get an offer in compromise, the day we file it for you, you got to start being in compliance, meaning you got to file your taxes every year on time, can't continue to owe money. You've got to make estimated tax payments. All these different rules out there to stay in compliance with the IRS become critical. And so when you're looking at compliance, if you are one that can't handle those things, offer in compromise is not right for you, because you've got to be in compliance for 5 more years after they accept it in every aspect of taxes. And if you're not, all that debt that we just settled for you comes flooding back. Good example. Wasn't one of our clients. He came to us after the fact asking what we could do for him to save his offer. He was 4 years, 10 months into it. He didn't file an extension, ended up owing money, filed his taxes a month and a half late. IRS revoked his whole offer in compromise.
Wow.
$273,000 plus penalties and interest came flooding back. Guess what? The guy had a high-paying job. He was now making good 6 figures. He had to pay it all back.
Wow.
Yep. So got to make sure you're in compliance. Now, that's an extreme. I mean, somebody was 4 years, 10 months into it, and then they had to go back and do this. We've seen where other people have been 2 years into it and didn't file or owed money, said they couldn't afford estimated tax payments, and now all of a sudden they got all this debt. We could have put them in a partial pay and they would have been in a much better state. Because the other thing that comes with the offer in compromise is a stay of the statute of limitations, which means the IRS has 10 years to collect your debt. After 10 years, it goes away. When you have an offer in compromise, from the day you file it till the day it's accepted, and then the 5 years later, that statute of limitations stands still.
Wow.
So they still have that statute of limitations to continue after that period of time. So there's a lot of negatives to it, but if you can stay in compliance, sometimes it can be a great tool to save you a lot of money on your taxes.
Barry, we just got the coolest text I think we've ever gotten. This gentleman, his name is Webb, W-E-B. Don't know where he's from. He said, Barry, I love your shows. I try not to miss one. I own a business, and your shows keep me on my toes, making sure I do everything the right way. And you're such a benefit to America. Did you know that? Did you know you were a benefit to America?
No, I didn't know that. That's kind of embarrassing, but thank you, Webb.
That
Hey,
was
Webb,
nice.
we are on 3 times a month here nationally with Ask the Experts, but I'm also on once a week on Mondays at 10 Eastern Time. Again, W4CY Radio, but you can subscribe to our radio station at taxtalk4u.com. Again, that's taxtalk4u.com. And then you won't miss a single episode there. And then also subscribe to Ask the Experts so you don't miss an episode over here. And you'll have your fill of everything about taxes. And you may even hear me go off on my soapbox more than once.
It's funny because we get people writing saying how much they love your stories. We had one that says, "Can you talk about on your next show tax scams?"
Oh,
I'm
absolutely.
sure there's a lot of them out there, so we got to remember to do that the next show. Barry, first of all, give everybody all your social media, how they can reach you, and your new playbook.
Well, here's the most important thing to walk away from today is go to www.irsplaybook.info. Again, www.irsplaybook.info. And, if you're driving or, not someplace you can write it down, you can come back to Ask the Experts and see this, and all the information is there for you. You can also go over to Facebook and you can look up Taxation Solutions. Tax relief. We've got offices all around the country that you'll be able to find one of them there and be able to get to this episode as well as taxtalk4u.com. And we've got social media there as well. You want to do everything you can to get the IRS off your back now. Stop them. They're the biggest, baddest collection agency in the world. People say, hey, you're giving them a bad rap. Hey, they've got more power than anybody else that's out there. They got more power than the collection agencies they hire.
Yes.
And they can make your life a living nightmare. And you really don't want to have a living nightmare. Not today, not ever, and not going into the new year.
I want to just say this, Barry. Barry will never say this himself, but this is our 15th year doing the show. Barry's been with us for 14 of those years. And Barry used to have just the Houston area. Then we kind of did a Texas thing. Now we just promote this all over the United States. But I did so much due diligence in other markets when we had a tax relief company. And there's so many negative reports out there. And I got to tell you, Barry, Taxation Solutions is without a doubt, and I can say this, you won't say this, one of the most honest companies out there that really cares about you, that you don't have to worry about getting ripped off or anything. They've been around forever. And it's so important that you have someone you can trust, because you're putting a lot of your headaches on Barry's shoulders. I had to say that.
And I got big shoulders. That's why you say it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because you told me yesterday you were carrying cattle. I was like, how does he put those over his shoulders? That's amazing.
Nah, I may carry pigs by hand, but cattle is just in the trailer, even the calves are a little bit bigger than I really want to pick up myself. And Mama's not usually the nicest when I go to pick up her calf or something.
Barry, I got to tell you, I want to wish you and your family a Merry Christmas, just a blessed New Year. You are so important to our show, and you're always in our prayers.
Well, thank you. Thank you. We pride ourselves in taking care of our clients. If you've got a tax problem, you can go to www.irsplaybook.info, get the information. You can call us right now for a free consultation, 888-930-1016. Again, 888-930-1016. We'll give you that free consultation. We'll give you some special discounts from Ask the Experts. because we love the show. We love doing this with you. We love getting the information out there. And above that, we love helping people. And
God
that's
bless
what
you, Barry.
our goal is. So
Thanks so much. It's Barry Fowler, Taxation Solutions. Remember, it's .net. That's it for us today.
Hey,
We'll
thank you very much, Steve-O. Everybody, have a Merry Christmas. Steve-O, you and your family have a Merry Christmas and a Happy
Thanks,
New Year.
buddy. I love you, man.
Thank you.
That's Barry Fowler. It's such a wonderful company. Hey, that's it for us today. We'll be back again with you next week. Everybody have a wonderful Christmas. We'll see you soon. Thanks, Juan.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.